Hey everybody, I hope you are doing well. I am Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond, and I'm here to do a political reading for you all today on a couple of topics. Don't know about you all, but I'm having a little bit of a Trump Monday hangover. We had two big things going on yesterday, as we all know by now, which was there was the decision to move forward on the 15th with the hush money case. Marshawn, that's that and that's that. So let's see what happens on the 15th. It is going to be probably Spirit has said this, the pundits have said this, probably of the four cases, the four criminal cases pending against Trump, probably going to be the only one that's going to go forward in 2024, or certainly before the election, that will finish before the election. So I'm going to do another reading on that as we get closer to the 15th. But so that was an upside. This 175 million from 450, 465, whatever it was, less than half of what we thought, was going to happen and what he was going to have to come up with. This 11th hour constantly being saved and the delays and, it's like, it's discouraging. But that said, I'm going to go in quickly, going to keep this short for you all. Got a couple of things I want to cover. So we're going to look at, according to him, he had the 400 and something, on hand, didn't come up with it, or didn't pay it for sure. So let's see, will this 175 get paid? Will Trump actually come up with the $175 million bond in order to appeal the decision from Tish James? We have death. Oh. Hold on, hold the horses, and justice. Come on, talk to me, Spirit, and the star. All right. Hey, you all. I'm not so sure. I tell you what, we know that he was given 10 days. And if you hear, I got the windows open. If you hear some outside noise, I apologize for that. They gave him 10 days to do it. So that would be by next Monday, about a little over a week, or Tuesday. But we've got death, the justice card, and the star. It almost feels like with the combination of those three, hold it up for you, I should show it to you. Combination of those three major arcana, by the way, that came straight out the deck. I always pay attention to that because that's heavy hitters. Those are like when Spirit is like, yo, listen to me, I'm talking to you. And how appropriate these cards for this particular matter. I'm not so sure. I'm going to pull a little more on that death. Because death typically can mean the ending of a current phase, meaning he could be putting this phase behind him in terms of getting the money for the bond so that he can appeal. That could be an ending, or it could be a no. Sometimes if you're asking a yes-no question, death can be a no. Let's see where death is going. Spirit, please give me clarity on this. Will Donald Trump come up with that money? We have the Empress. We have the Empress. And that's what's going to give him hope. That's why the star is here. That's what's going to give him hope, because that's all he wants. He wants further and further and further delay. Don't mess with my babies. Yeah, and the Seven of Wands comes on top of the star. So that's exactly right. It's giving him, he's going to get that, he's going to post that bond. How, I don't know, but he's going to post that bond and the 175 mil, and it's going to give him hope and give him, more. We haven't, the typical bragging, I told you so, I got all the money in the world, I'm the richest guy there ever was. So yes, he's going to make that bond. So there again, that issue gets pushed further and further out in terms of us actually seeing some justice. And I know that this is getting exhausting for all of us who care about democracy and care about seeing justice served, without question. If this was any other normal citizen, Jane or John, these things who committed crimes, these things would go through, the wheels of justice. Boom, boom, boom. I mean, we've even seen how many people prosecuted and now behind bars in connection with the January 6th insurrection. So when the wheels of justice need to run, for certain people they do. But in this case, my gosh, I just don't get it. But all right, he's going to post the bond, going to delay that. The hush money trial is going forward, and as I said, we'll look at that a little bit later. Also big today, we've got the Supreme Court coming down apparently with a decision on, what is it, mifepristone. It's that abortion drug. And there's some issues around the FDA, how they have cleared it, whether or not there's, access to it is being given in the appropriate way during the appropriate time frames of terminating a pregnancy. Appropriate, whoever determines what that is, we know that's in flux as well. But I want to see how that's going to come down. Spirit, is access to mifepristone gonna remain? Will the Supreme Court allow the FDA's classification of that medicine to stay in place? We have the Five of Swords, the arguments being made, blah, blah, blah. We have the Seven of Coins, that's them waiting on the decision. And then we have the Five of Coins, Pentacles. There's some sort of restriction. This is not going to be a slam dunk. I don't think they're going to... I don't think that the FDA is going to lose its ability to license and its stance on it being a safe drug, on making sure that women have access to it. But there's going to be some that Five of Pentacles is making me think there's going to be some sort of language in their decision. Is this them punting it back to the states, and so therefore states who have these strict bans are going to mess with the access, are going to restrict access to it? Is that it? They're going to basically punt it back? The lovers. We weeble and we wobble, but God, please don't let us fall down. The decision from the Supreme Court is not going to wipe out and completely, demolish access to it, or make it so that the FDA's ability to continue to classify it as a safe drug would be compromised. But at the same time, there's some sort of language that they're going to put in their decision that is still going to give states who want to continue this crusade the ability to restrict access. And it could have to do, Spirit is saying, it could have to do with the time frame that a drug like that would be available. The Hermit, very often connected to medical issues as well. So, and that regulation of it. Yes, I think that's the key. So it's not going out the door. I think access will remain, but there's going to be some ticky-tacky stuff around the timing, like when access, how long women should have access to it. And those states who are dead set against any sort of reproductive rights for women, the Supreme Court's going to leave enough wiggle room in there for those states to still, ratchet up their antics, okay? But it's not a slam dunk loss, not by any means. All right, moving on. Kamala Harris. We went almost, the first 2 years of the Biden administration, and it was almost like, where in the world is Kamala Harris? You all remember that? Wasn't seen, wasn't heard from, wasn't doing much. We were like, what's up? All right. Lots of arguments have been made, and, things said here and there about her not being given or not understanding what exactly her function was. Lots of around why that has been. But certainly, it started very much with the after the Dobbs decision, and in the wake of, with women's reproductive rights being on front and center, the abortion battle being front and center. So we started seeing more of Kamala then, voicing. Ooh, sorry about that. Noisy here this morning. Voicing people's opinions about that. Got a fire truck going by. I'm sorry about that noise, you all. And but now she has also, and this is interesting. This is chess, you all. This ain't checkers. Spirit is like, check her out. Now she has come out forcefully, kind of, sort of, to the extent that she can, and said, should Israel continue down its path, and there not even be a path forward or a realistic time frame for a ceasefire in Gaza. And now with the scuttlebutt about Rafah, like, she has come out and said, she was on the news shows this weekend and said there'll be consequences. We have not heard that directly from Joe Biden. I think there are many reasons for that. But also remembering there is this groundswell, the uncommitted, during these primaries regarding Biden, there is this groundswell of sort of resentment, and it is not just among Muslim and Palestinian voters. It is among people of color. It is among people who see what is happening to the Palestinian people as really criminal, and they feel that Netanyahu, the U.S. has given Netanyahu a pass. The fact that the U.S. showed up at the UN and abstained from voting on a ceasefire, although the measure apparently was still passed at the UN, but the U.S. of all, showed up and abstained from voting. So Netanyahu didn't like that one bit. Instead of sending a delegation that was going to come here and talk about, the road to a ceasefire, yanked that back, said, nope, y'all don't even need to go to the U.S. because I'm pissed off at them. They didn't vote the way they should have. They abstained instead of saying no. So Netanyahu is like strong-arming the U.S. right now. This has gotten really, really deep, you all. So now Joe didn't respond, or at least I haven't seen it. But when it comes to this people of color and Joe Biden having to be very careful right now because there is this notion that he is losing support. There will be that typical, don't mean to offend anybody, but there'll be that typical black church crowd that will stay tried and true. But the younger people, the millennials and Gen Zers, they are not happy with how this is being handled, how the administration is handling this, and I think that's why Kamala is being sort of pushed. They got their hands to her back, saying, listen, we really need you right now to get out here and speak to this, especially because your word at this time is going to carry a little more weight as a woman of color. I'm going to Spirit to say, is that in fact the case? We've seen her on guns. She was recently in Parkland on red flag laws with guns. She was, where else did she go? She just hosted the on the issue of immigration and border issues. She just hosted the president of Guatemala. So I mean, Kamala, for everything she didn't do in the first 2 years of the administration, she is like doing double and triple time right now. She is definitely doing her job. I just wonder the extent to which, especially as it relates to maintaining the vote or increasing the vote. We need more of people of color, immigrants and people of color, how that's going to go over. And the Seven of Cups, choices to be made. We have the Page of Swords, putting that idea out there, and especially pages are usually more youthful, so trying to appeal to that young vote. That's what she's doing. That's definitely who she's aiming at. And we have the Empress. That's her energy. I always get the Empress when I'm looking at Kamala. So that's her energy. People, she is forceful and she is a force, and she has a certain authenticity when she connects with people, when she gets eye to eye with you and she leans in. There is, she is not someone to be messed with. She can be pretty formidable at the same time that she can be very diplomatic in her exchanges. Now, whether that results in, I have the Knight of Wands. She needs more. She's going to need, it can't be her, just by virtue of the fact that she's a woman of color. Knight of Wands feels like she's got to bring in somebody, male would be really, really effective, and younger. She's got to get a surrogate to the surrogate to come in and help her. And I've got Death and the King of Cups. This is, that's Biden, because he's a Scorpio, death rules Scorpio, and the King of Cups, he has that energy. So this is him, this is her doing this on behalf of their ticket. Obviously, it's what she needs to do for him, but I don't know, does this gain him more support? Is her stance on this issue, the ceasefire, is that going to attract more young voters? We have the Three of Cups. I like it. I'm not mad at that. The Three of Cups, card of celebration, a card of moments, and very often, birthdays and holidays. And but I think this is regarding the election, which is a moment. It's going to be quite a moment in our history. We have the Two of Swords, those undecideds. I think it will move the needle. One more card, please, Spirit. Show me definitively. Will the actions that Kamala has taken, granted she needs to get additional help, will that move the needle? Is that going to get more of the youth vote out? And the vote from people of color, especially younger people of color, will that get them out? The Four of Wands, yeah, it's going to help. I think it's going to help, especially on in academic settings, college campuses. It's not gonna get into your garden variety, urban centers throughout the country, but within those academic centers and those places where younger voters of color, across the spectrum, when I say of color, will hear that message, will be more likely to engage with her. Yes, I do think she's going to have an impact. And as a put a cap on it, Spirit just gave me the Ace of Wands. So yes, she is going to be very useful and effective in getting this word out. All right. And finally, you all, I'm going to take a look at the media meltdown, the whole thing that is happening at NBC, and the revolt by people like Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow, and just across the board, Mika and Joe Scarborough. So everybody's probably heard right now. So NBC execs got the bright idea, don't know why, to hire Ronna McDaniel, former RNC chair. Ousted. Trump said, get out of here. You ain't doing what I need you to do. So apparently she went and started shopping herself around and had talks with CNN, ABC, and NBC jumped up. Scuttlebutt is, as I was, doing my investigative thing, scuttlebutt is there was some people upset, higher ups were upset at NBC at the idea that CNN was making more inroads. Remember when Caitlin Collins landed that disastrous interview with Donald Trump? So, but the fact of the matter is she got access, right? DeSantis during the primaries. I think DeSantis appeared, some others appeared. So in other words, NBC said enough of this with CNN. We're going to get us some of that. Who's the insider? Who can we get as an insider who can help move the needle? So during those talks, word is that from some sources that wouldn't be named, because they wanted to not get the backlash. But if it's to be believed that she said, listen, I can get you the presidential debates on NBC. I don't want them. They will not be simulcast on MSNBC because that's that ultra liberal wing of NBC. And there was a lot of dissension there, right? So she said, that's my deal. You can't air it on, you can't simulcast it on MSNBC, but I can get you the in on to be able to do the presidential debates on NBC. So that apparently was a part of the her ace up her sleeve during her talks with the NBC execs. And that had been going on for quite some time, even before she was ousted as the RNC chair. I want to look at whether or not she is going to last, because of course the MSNBC folks, Mika Brzezinski, excuse me if I pronounce that wrong, Mika came right out, she and Joe came right out and said, oh, I bet you she won't come up in here. I promise you she will not come up in here. And many of the, Chuck Todd was, he came right out, former Meet the Press guy, he came right out and just said what needed to be said. Rachel Maddow went off on a whole thing last night about, this is absolutely crazy. Clearly they want to attract some of that conservative, even ultra conservative crowd. I think the problem that many of these people, journalists, are having is the idea that we know Ronna McDaniel made the calls in Michigan. She was directly involved in the election, deniers and the fake electors and all of that. Clearly, very, very involved in that. She got on she's doing her little rounds right now, and she's been given $300,000, by the way. In an era of cutbacks, people are losing it. Journalists are losing it because they're like, we've been getting cutbacks, and people getting laid off, and you got $300,000 for this heifer? Is Ronna McDaniel going to last on NBC? Priestess, High Priestess. There's a bit of the unknown there. They've made the decision. They don't really have grounds to they're either out of $300,000 because that's done. There's no grounds she hasn't done anything that would be grounds for dismissal, but the extent to which she can be put to use as a political analyst on the network. Six of Cups. They're going to look at how they've done it in the past when they have hosted or had guests with those views, with far right views. But again, the hurdle that she's not going to be able to get over is nobody's going to believe what she's saying. She's such a Trump acolyte that, what's the use? Nine of Cups. They want to use her leverage or whatever she has sold them or what they perceive. They meaning NBC execs. They want to use whatever leverage she sold them on that they think she can open some doors and get access, especially when you have so many on the far right who simply, they say NBC or ABC or CBS is calling, and the answer is just automatically no. If it's not Fox, or something like they're not going to be bothered. So they're buying in the idea that she's going to be able, Queen of Wands, that's how she's being perceived. And she sold them on that. I got you. Don't worry about any of this. I'll be able to get you that audience, that other part of the audience that you want in order to be able to say you are delivering fair and balanced coverage. And there's the lovers. Two-faced. Talking out of both sides of her mouth. As she just said now, oh yeah, Biden was legitimately elected. Okay. I don't think she's going anywhere, you all. I think that right now they're going to bide their time, especially let some of this hoopla settle down a little bit. But it's going to get very interesting, I'm hearing, as we get toward the election, because that's when political operatives, both within the media and out otherwise, they're all in full force and effect. That's all hands on deck. And they will use her voice. She's going to, we got the Tower. Hell's gonna break loose. Because there are people who simply are going to really, the thing is, refuse to work with her is let me finish my thought. Because the thing is, Spirit's going fast. Because the thing is, even in the past, when you've had political people whose views differ, say someone like a Liz Cheney, not in love with her, but no one's, she's not a crook, right? She's not a crook. She doesn't have criminal tendencies, and she certainly didn't, hug up on and love up on a straight up criminal. So there's the difference. It's one thing if I don't like you, but at least I know you're doing your thing in the way you believe. There's another thing when it's like, I can't believe a word that's coming out of your mouth. You are a huckster. You are a hustler. You're not a legitimate professional. And there's the Ace of Cups. Spirit is, I think Spirit just gave me a pat on the back like, yeah, Afefe, you got it. You made the point. So yeah, she's not going anywhere. But there is going to be, that Tower is really interesting. I don't think we've seen the last of this revolt for those who are truly trying to do their jobs, established journalists who do care about their reputation, who do care about the truth being told, who are even willing, and certainly it is their job, to present, different sides of issues and debates and to have all voices heard. That's what we're fighting for in this democracy. But to have someone who is straight up, that's like me, going into business and sitting here doing a collab for you all with the woman who cheated with my ex. You know what I mean? It ain't happening. I don't trust her. So anyway, yeah, we're not done with her. They're on the line. They've hired her. What's done is done. But who's willing to work with her and the extent to which she will really be visible or have an impactful presence, media presence, that's a great big question mark. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you really soon.